Welcome back to Bitcoin Rachy, the channel where we break down Bitcoin in plain English, without the fluff and always through the lens of building real wealth in a Bitcoin world. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest questions I get asked, which is this: how much Bitcoin should you actually own? Should you think about it relative to your salary, your wealth, or even your bigger life goals? And in this video, I'm going to dig deeper than just percentages. I'm going to introduce a brand new framework I like to call Bitcoin per mission. It's a way to size your stack based on the mission you're on in life, and once you hear it, I think it's going to click in a way that all of those random allocation numbers never could. So let's jump in. All right, let's cut through the noise. If you make $100,000 a year, how much Bitcoin should you actually own? Is it 1% of your income? Is it a full coin? Or should you be stacking until you have an entire year's salary worth? This is the financial planning question of the Bitcoin era. Because unlike any other asset, Bitcoin is not just an investment. It's a savings technology. It's sovereignty. It's optionality for your future. And that's why this question matters so much. In the fiat system, nobody asks you how much cash you should hold. You're forced to hold cash because your rent, your bills, and your paycheck are all denominated in it. But Bitcoin flips that dynamic. All of a sudden, you actually have a choice. Do you want to keep your wealth in a melting ice cube, or move it into something with a fixed supply that gets stronger every single year? Now, when you start stacking sats, that choice becomes very real. The amount you own isn't just a number on a screen. It becomes a signal of your conviction, of your time preference, and of the kind of future you're building for yourself and for your family. So let's start with the most relatable way of thinking about this, which is Bitcoin relative to your salary. Think about your Bitcoin stack as a multiple of your yearly income. If you hold the equivalent of 1 month's salary in Bitcoin, that's your conservative hedge. If you've saved 3 to 6 months of salary in Bitcoin, that shows serious conviction. And if you've accumulated an entire year's salary in Bitcoin, that's a generational bet. And this works no matter what your income is. If you make $40,000 a year, then 3 months of salary might be $10,000 or $15,000 in Bitcoin. If you make $200,000, it's a bigger number, but the framework still holds. The key is that you're benchmarking your Bitcoin against your earning power. And for most people, that's the most consistent financial metric they have. Another way to think about it is Bitcoin relative to your net worth. This is how institutions operate. They don't say, we'll buy 3 Teslas worth of Bitcoin. They say, we'll allocate 5% of our portfolio. So think about it in those terms. If you allocate 1 to 5% of your net worth, that's essentially a hedge position. If you allocate 5 to 15%, that's a real conviction bet. And if you go 20% or more, you're basically living on a Bitcoin standard. The right number for you depends on your age, your risk tolerance, and how much you believe Bitcoin is going to eat the world. But using your net worth as the denominator helps keep the conversation grounded. For me, I'm 98% in Bitcoin, so I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Okay, now here's where I want to bring in something new, a framework that I have coined as Bitcoin per mission. This is the idea that instead of chasing arbitrary numbers or trying to keep up with random people on X, you should be asking yourself one simple question: what's my mission in life, and how much Bitcoin funds that mission? If your mission is to retire comfortably, then your target might be 1 to 3 Bitcoin. That's enough to anchor a strong nest egg. If your mission is to pass on generational wealth, then your target might be 10 Bitcoin or more, because that's dynasty territory. And if your mission is just sovereignty, meaning you never want to depend on an employer again, then maybe half a Bitcoin paired with disciplined fiat savings is enough to unlock that freedom. Bitcoin per mission means your stack isn't about bragging rights. It's about aligning your Bitcoin with your actual life goals. And once you start thinking in those terms, the pressure to measure yourself against other people fades away, because you're measuring Bitcoin against your own mission. Now let's make this even more tangible by looking at the lifestyle benchmarks. If you hold 0.1 Bitcoin, that's like a global middle-class insurance policy. If you hold 1 Bitcoin, you're already in the elite early adopter category, because less than 2% of the world will ever own a whole coin. If you manage to stack 3 Bitcoin to 5 Bitcoin, that's a strong retirement foundation. And if you cross 10 or more, you're building dynasty wealth that could reshape your family tree for generations. Of course, the natural question is, how do you actually get there? And that's where stacking strategies come into play. I would continue to dollar cost average every day or every week, whatever you can afford to put away, even if that's just $50 a week. If Bitcoin continues to compound at 25% a year, those stacks explode in dollar terms over time. Now, I'm not saying everyone should go all in. Your personal situation matters. Your job stability, your debt levels, your family obligations, they all play a role. But here's the truth. Your Bitcoin allocation should reflect your conviction. If you genuinely believe Bitcoin is the strongest money ever invented, then 1% exposure doesn't really line up with that belief. If you're still skeptical, then start small, learn along the way, and build conviction over time. The key is aligning your stack with who you are and what you want. Not with me, not with people on X or YouTube, not with anyone else. So how much Bitcoin should you own? The answer is simple. Enough to fund your mission. You can think in terms of salary multiples, you can think in terms of net worth percentages, but most importantly, you can think in terms of Bitcoin per mission. That's the framework that matters. Now I want to hear from you. How much of your salary are you comfortable stacking into Bitcoin? And what's your mission? Drop your answer in the comments below because I love seeing the range of conviction across this community. And if you want to go even deeper, I've already made a full video breaking down exactly how much Bitcoin you need to retire within the next 10 years. I'll link it right here in the top corner. Definitely check that out next. Anyways, this has been Bitcoin Rachy. Thanks for watching. Rachy out.